The silence after the plague. You awaken to the sound of bells. They do not ring with urgency. They toll slowly, their voices drifting across stone walls and narrow streets. The air is damp, touched by incense, still clinging from last night's prayers. You lie still for a moment, listening. The sound is steady, unhurried, echoing longer. Because the spaces between buildings hold fewer voices now. The town is smaller than it once was, not in size but in spirit. Houses remain, but doors stay closed longer, windows open, but only a little. The plague has passed, yet its weight lingers in silence. In the hollow rhythm of days that try to become ordinary again, you rise, feeling the floor cool beneath your feet. The wooden boards creak softly. The smell of the room is faintly of smoke, from the fire that burned low through the night, and faintly of mildew, from walls that gathered damp air while you slept. The silence is not absolute. Outside a dog barks, a cartwheel groans, and the bells continue. Still, the absence of chatter, the absence of footsteps, makes each sound stretch farther than it once did. Awakening in an altered town, you step into the street, cloak pulled around you. The air is cool, the cobblestones beneath your boots still wet from last night's mist. You see shutters leaning open, not wide, just enough to peek into the morning. Someone sweeps a stoop, broom bristles, scratching stone. A child peers out, then retreats quickly inside. The town is not empty, but it is slower. Every motion feels cautious, as though people measure their steps, afraid to move too quickly into life again. The market square is visible in the distance, its stalls half assembled, cloth awnings hanging loose. You pause and notice smells drifting faintly. The sourness of last night's ale spilled near a tavern door, the smoke of damp wood smouldering in a chimney. The sharper tang of tallow candles burned nearly to stubs. These are not unusual smells, but they carry more weight when fewer distractions surround them. Myth versus reality 1. Empty ghost towns. It is easy to imagine every town after the plague as hollow, silent, abandoned. Paintings sometimes show weeds overtaking streets, doors swinging open, no one remaining. Yet records tell another story. Towns did not vanish. Many continued with fewer voices, fewer footsteps, but still with bread to bake, ale to brew, shutters to mend. Silence was heavier, yes, but life carried on. The myth of total emptiness fades into the reality of cautious return. Step by step, morning routine of a townsman. Even after loss, routine shapes the morning. Step 1. Open the shutters. Wood creaks, hinges stiff. The smell of damp air rushes in. Step 2. Fetch water from the well. The bucket rattles on its rope. The cold splash echoes as it sinks. The water smells faintly of iron. Step 3. Sweep the doorway. The broom scrapes stone, pushing dust and straw into the gutter. The rhythm is slow, steady. Step 4. Tend the fire. Coals are stirred, smoke rises, faintly bitter. Wood is placed carefully, flames coaxed with patience. Step 5. Break bread, dip in ale or broth, chew slowly. The taste is plain, filling, familiar. This routine does not erase silence, but it anchors you to it, turns emptiness into structure. Rat-catcher Tom. Down the lane, rat-catcher Tom appears, cloak ragged, hat low. He insists he hears rats still, though fewer remain. He bangs a stick against the stones, muttering that the sound drives them away. Children whisper that Tom hears rats even in his dreams. He scratches at walls, nods at shadows, claims each crack hides a whisker. Tom's presence is not threatening, it is peculiar, almost comforting. His muttering fills silence. His stick striking cobbles gives rhythm to streets that might otherwise be too still. You pass him, he nods gravely, as though you share a secret knowledge of rats. Fortunata the candle seller. Near the church, Fortunata arranges candles on a small table. She sells wax as though it were holy itself, muttering that each flame keeps shadows at bay. Her hands are wax-stained, her shawl faintly smelling of beeswax mixed with smoke. She scolds buyers who pinch wicks too hard, warns that careless fingers offend the saint. She hoards wax behind her, wrapped carefully in cloth, counting it like treasure. She insists candles burn nightly, keep away not only darkness, but memories of pestilence. Neighbors smile faintly, some indulgent, some weary, but all buy at least one candle. Better to humor Fortunata than risk offending her shadows. A mild dilemma. You hold a coin in your hand. With it you could buy bread, plain but filling, or a candle, which Fortunata insists protects your doorway. The bread satisfies hunger now, the candle promises comfort at night. Neither choice is urgent, yet both matter quietly. You weigh the coin, and decide. Soundscape of the town. As the day lengthens, sound grows, though softly. Hammers strike faintly in the distance, a blacksmith returning to work. Hooves clop slowly on stone, one cart at a time. A bell rings again, not for death this time, but for a noon prayer. The echoes last longer than before, stretching into gaps left by missing voices. You listen, the drip of water into a gutter, the faint laughter of a child, quickly hushed. Each sound feels larger than it is, carrying farther across stone. Myth versus reality 2. Collapse of order. It is often said that the Black Death shattered society, that law and ritual vanished. Yet records from city accounts and church logs suggest otherwise. Order bent, but it did not break. Fines were still collected, prayers still held, marriages still written. Townsmen still swept their stoops, bakers still kneaded dough, candles still burned. The myth of collapse fades into the reality of endurance. Rules of post-plague living. In the months after the plague, towns quietly adopted new habits, unwritten, yet followed. Sweep stoops daily, so silence does not gather too thick. Bank fires carefully, wood is scarcer now. Greet neighbors calmly, words steadier than silence. Do not waste candles, Fortunata will notice. Rat-catcher Tom must not be mocked openly. Bells are to be listened to, no matter how often they toll. Bread is shared only with care, never thrown. These rules are not carved in law, but they shape the town as surely as walls. Cadence Landing 1. By afternoon, the air warms faintly, shutters creak wider, a few voices carry across the square. Tom mutters, Fortunata counts wax, a child runs briefly in laughter. The silence lifts slightly, though it never vanishes. The bells toll softly, the smoke drifts upward, and the town drifts into uneasy quiet once more. Evening shadows. When dusk falls, shadows lengthen against stone. The air grows cooler, smoke thick. Doors close earlier than before, neighbors retreating inside. Fortunata sells her last candle, tucking coins into cloth. Tom walks slower now, tapping stones with weary stick, still muttering of rats. You close your shutters. The room smells of smoke and wax. The wooden boards creak as you settle. The silence returns heavier at night, punctuated only by the faint toll of bells. Cadence Landing 2. The fire crackles faintly. The shutters hold the damp air back. Outside, footsteps fade. Inside, wax glows. Smoke rises, and you breathe slow. The bells toll slowly, the air cools, and the town folds itself into uneasy rest. The marketplace returns. The town does not live fully until the market stirs. Streets that seem narrow and still in the early hours begin to widen with sound, with movement, with the cautious shuffle of townsfolk returning to their habits. After the plague, the market becomes both reminder and reassuring. It reminds everyone that loss has passed through, and it reassures them that life can be stitched together again, one loaf, one cloth bolt, one candle at a time. You walk slowly toward the square, cloak drawn close. The air is damp, and the cobblestones beneath your boots are slick. The faint smell of yesterday's fish lingers, though the stalls are not yet open. Somewhere ahead you hear the steady rhythm of wood striking stone, someone hammering planks into place. The sound is hollow, but it carries. First, the outline of awnings, cloth stretched between poles, sagging a little from dampness. Then the murmur of voices, still tentative. Finally the scents: fresh bread baking, sharp salt clinging to fish, wool damp from mist, leather warmed by hands. The square is not full. Spaces remain where stalls once stood, their owners gone or too weary to return. Yet enough stalls remain to form a circle, enough to bring people together. The ground is littered with straw, scattered to soften mud. A dog noses through it, sniffing at crumbs. You pass the baker's stall. The smell of bread, warm and yeasty, drifts across the air. Loaves sit in uneven rows, their crusts cracked, flour dusting the wooden table. The baker nods slowly, hands white with flour, eyes weary but steady. Step by step, setting up a stall. Each vendor follows a rhythm, practiced though quieter now. Step 1. The stall frame is lifted into place, wooden beams groaning as they slot together. Step 2. Cloth is stretched across the top, sagging where knots loose. The fabric smells faintly of mildew from storage. Step 3. Goods are set out, loaves stacked, cloth rolled, fish laid on straw. The air fills with mingling scents. Step 4. Weights and measures are placed, iron scales clicking soft. Step 5. Coins are tested, tapping against teeth or stone, the sound sharp in the morning air. The work is calm, steady, turning empty square into market once again. Myth vs. reality in 1. Markets revived overnight. It is easy to imagine markets bursting instantly back to life once plague faded. The myth tells of abundance rushing in, stalls crowded, noise restored. Records remind differently. Some stalls remained empty for months, even years. Some towns saw shortages, others sudden surpluses from abandoned stores. The market did not return overnight. It crept back, uneven, fragile. The myth of immediate revival fades into the reality of slow return. Rat-catcher Tom at the stalls. Rat-catcher Tom appears near the fishmonger. He taps his stick against boards, muttering that rats hide beneath. He squints at baskets of salted fish, claims he hears scratching. The fishmonger sighs, tells him no rat would touch salt. Tom insists rats crave salt more than men. He bangs his stick again. Children giggle at him, but adults let him be. His muttering fills silence. His stick striking wood adds rhythm. The market feels less empty with his presence, even if his warnings are ignored. Fortunata the candle seller. On the far side of the square, Fortunata has set her table. She lines candles carefully, tallest in the center, stubs to the side. She scolds anyone who touches them without permission, warns that careless fingers offend the saints. Her shawl smells of beeswax, sweet and faintly smoky. She insists each market day requires candles, even if buyers prefer bread or fish. Shadows grow faster in squares than in alleys, she mutters, patting her wax. Some smile faintly, some buy just to keep her quiet. A mild dilemma. You hold 2 coins. One could buy bread, warm and filling. The other could buy a candle, which Fortunata insists protects against shadows. You might keep both, but the alehouse calls, offering a mug of comfort. Bread, candle, or ale. None is urgent, yet each tugs softly at choice. Soundscape of the market. The square hums slowly into life. A dog barks at pigeons. Hooves clop as a cart delivers sacks of grain. A woman calls softly, advertising cloth dyed red with madder root. Fishmongers slap scales from their wares, knives scraping, gulls crying overhead. Coins clink, light but sharp. The sounds are not loud, not yet. They weave together, a murmur stitched across stone. Reality in 2. Fair prices. Stories suggest townsfolk grew rich quickly after plague, wages rising, prices fair. Yet accounts reveal unevenness. Bread sometimes doubled in price, ale grew thin, cloth became scarce, bargaining grew sharper, disputes louder. The market was not always fair, though it endured. The myth of equal abundance fades into reality of haggling and shortage. Step by step buying bread. When you choose to buy bread, the act itself is small but steady. Step 1. Approach the stall, nod to the baker. Step 2. Lift a loaf, weight heavy in hand, crust firm. Step 3. Place coin on the table, metal ringing faintly. Step 4. The baker brushes flour from his hands, pushes coin into pouch. Step 5. You carry the loaf away, the smell warm against your clothes. The bread will not last long, but its presence reassures. Rules of the marketplace. The square holds its own quiet codes, learned quickly after plague. Coins must be tested, tapped to prove true. Candles are counted by Fortunata herself, not touched by others. Fish must be salted well, or rat-catcher Tom will complain. Gossip is traded as freely as goods. No shouting louder than the bells. Pigeons own the roofs, and no one bothers them. These rules are unspoken, yet shape the square as firmly as its stones. Cadence landing 1. By midday the air warms. Bread smells fade into fish, fish into ale. Tom taps his stick. Fortunata counts her coins. Children chase pigeons, until hushed. The market hums, not loud, not silent. The bells toll faintly. The square glows, and life drifts slowly back into place. The stories of markets past. Some recall markets before plague, crowded, noisy, overflowing. Others mutter that quiet is better, that too many voices once filled the air. A diary notes that abandoned goods were once sold cheap, silks at the price of wool, wine poured as if water. Such memories hang in the air, making today's modest stalls feel heavier with meaning. A moral puzzle. A neighbor whispers that a merchant hoards flour, selling little now to raise price later. You could join others in complaint, or remain silent, protecting your chance to buy quietly. The choice rests lightly, but it shapes how you stand among neighbors. Myth vs. reality in 3. Endless abundance. It is tempting to imagine that after plague, food was plentiful for all. Yet reality reminds that harvest still depended on weather, trade still faltered, shortages still came. The market provided enough,
not plenty. Cadence landing 2. Evening comes slowly, stalls close, cloth folded, loaves gone, fish salted again, packed away. Tom taps his stick one last time, muttering about shadows. Fortunata gathers candles, shawl heavy with wax. The square grows quieter, footsteps fade. The fire glows faintly in tavern windows. The bells toll soft, and the town folds itself into night once more. Work and wages after loss. The plague did not only leave silence in its wake, it also left gaps in workshops, gaps in guild rolls, gaps in fields where hands once bent to labor. After the bells fell silent, the hammers still had to strike, the loom still had to weave, the shoes still had to be stitched. Fewer hands remained, and so each hand carried more weight. You rise in the morning knowing that work is different now. The town stirs with a slow rhythm. From an open doorway, you hear the faint scrape of a plane against wood. From another, the clang of iron against anvil, sharper than before in the quieter air. You smell tanned leather, wool damp from storage, oil warming on stone. Work is not vanished, it is altered. A craftsman's morning, you step into a shoemaker's lane. The smell of leather is strong, mingled with the sour tang of tallow. A hammer strikes rhythmically, tap, pause, tap. You watch the craftsman set his bed. Step 1, he lays out tools on the worn board, awl, knife, hammer, needles thick as nails. Step 2, he pulls a hide across his lap, the surface rough, edges uneven. Step 3, he cuts slowly, blade dragging, leather resisting. Step 4, he stitches with heavy cord, the thread rasping through holes. Step 5, he presses the heel, taps it into place, hammer sharp against wood. The sound echoes down the narrow lane. Each shoe is slower now, but each earns more. Reality in 1. Everyone grew rich. It is often said that after plague, every worker became wealthy overnight, wages soaring, coins filling pockets. Records suggest otherwise. Some laborers did gain more pay, but guild masters resisted. Towns issued ordinances to hold wages steady, and many workers still struggled. Opportunities rose, yes, but unevenly. The myth of universal wealth fades into the reality of slow, partial change. Ratcatcher Tom's complaint. Ratcatcher Tom wanders the lane, muttering that even rats now demand wages. He claims they guard the granaries, chewing less, if paid in crumbs. He insists guilds should register rats as apprentices. The shoemaker ignores him, but children laugh, following as he bangs his stick against walls. Tom declares the plague killed men, but spared rats because work must go on. His voice fades as he turns a corner, stick still tap. Fortunata's grumble. At the marketplace edge, Fortunata scolds loudly that workers now buy ale instead of candles. She mutters that their extra wages go to taverns, not to wax. She holds up a stub of candle, claims that if each man spent 1 coin on flame, the whole town would shine brighter than the cathedral. No one argues. Some buy, some walk past. Her voice weaves into the sound of hammering and sweeping, part of daily labor. A mild dilemma. You find work offered, repairing shutters for 2 coins, or carrying timber for 3. The timber is heavier, the road longer, but the pay is more. The shutters are easier, closer, but less rewarding. Neither choice is urgent, yet both weigh quietly, asking patience to decide. Step by step weaving in the hall. In the weaving hall, looms creak. The air smells of wool, lanolin heavy, dust rising. You watch a weaver prepare. Step 1, card wool, pulling fibers until they soften, dust clinging to hands. Step 2, spin with spindle, thread twisting thin, breaking often. Step 3, load shuttle, thread slipping through fingers. Step 4, beat loom, wood striking wood, sound echoing in hall. Step 5, roll cloth, heavy, rough, folded in stacks. The rhythm is steady, slow. Cloth is scarcer now, wages higher, but labor still long. Myth versus reality in 2. Guilds lost power. Some claim guilds collapsed after plague, rules ignored, masters powerless. Yet guild records continue, showing fines collected, apprentices registered, oaths sworn, authority bent, wages debated, but guilds endured. The myth of vanishing order fades into reality of adapted rule. Rules of labor. After the plague, though guild halls spoke formally, townsfolk kept their own quiet codes. Tools must be mended before dawn, or work falters. Apprentices may grumble, but masters still decide. Rats are not apprentices, despite Tom's claim. Candles may be bought, but only if coin allows. Ale may be drunk after work, not during. Wages are argued, but never in church. Cloth is measured twice, cut once, no matter how weary. These rules keep rhythm steady, shaping work into habit. Cadence landing 1. By midday, hammers soften, looms slow, workers sip ale, chew bread, voices low, Tom mutters of rats, Fortunata counts coins, children chase dust in beams of light, the bells toll faintly, the tools rest, and the town drifts into quiet patience. Stories of laborers, some tell of men who left fields for cities, finding higher pay, others tell of widows who took up trades, weaving or brewing. A letter recalls cloth sold for twice its old price, while another notes a shoemaker fined for charging too much. Stories weave unevenly, but all share the weight of change. A moral puzzle. You finish a day's work, coin in hand. A neighbor asks to borrow half, promising bread tomorrow. You could share, risking your own hunger, or refuse, keeping your stomach steady but your neighbor resentful. The choice is small, yet lingers into the evening. Myth versus reality in 3. Myth versus reality in 3. Work was abundant. It is tempting to imagine jobs waiting at every door, yet not all trades thrived. Some workshops closed, some masters fled, some towns shrank too small to need many hands. Work existed, but not always where one wished. Cadence landing 2. The sun lowers, workshops close, cloth is folded, shoes stacked, shutters latched. Workers drift home, cloaks heavy with dust. Tom taps his stick against walls. Fortunata mutters about what. The fire burns low, the tools rest, and the night folds softly over the town. Town streets and smells. The town's life is measured not only in bells or coins, but in to walk its streets after the plague is to carry with you the scents of smoke, sewage, bread, wax, damp stone and unwashed wool. The plague did not erase these odors, it simply quieted the voices that once distracted from them. Now each smell seems stronger, lingering longer, stretching farther down the cobbled lanes. You step outside in the morning air. The cobblestones are wet, glistening faintly where mist has settled. Your boots scrape softly, sending small echoes between walls. A dog barks, sharp and quick, then silence folds over again. The first scent to greet you is wood smoke, heavy and damp, rising from chimneys where fires are coaxed into life. Mixed with it is tallow, acrid and greasy, clinging to your cloak as you pass. The street is narrow, lined with houses leaning toward each other as though in quiet conversation. Their shutters are patched, their plaster cracked, some doors are painted, colors faded but still visible. The air is cool, your breath drifting faintly before your face. Step by step, street chores. Every morning, townsfolk shape the street with small rituals. Step 1. Sweep the stoop. Broom bristles scrape against stone, pushing dust and straw into the gutter. The sound is rough, but steady. Step 2. Empty the chamber pot. A door opens. A clay jar tips. Liquid splashes into the channel that runs between cobbles. The smell rises, sharp, mingling with smoke. Step 3. Sprinkle herbs. Some scatter lavender, sage or rosemary near doorways, hoping to mask odor. The scent is faint, quickly overtaken by stronger smells. Step 4. Toss refuse. Bones, broken pottery and spoiled scraps land with dull thuds, left for dogs, pigs, or crows. Step 5. Pour water. Buckets slosh, rinsing stoops, pushing filth into gutter. The work is small, repeated daily, shaping streets that never truly grow clean but remain just livable. Myth versus reality. 1. Cleaner after plague. It is sometimes imagined that towns grew cleaner after the Black Death, as if fewer people meant tidier streets. Records tell otherwise. With fewer hands, chores sometimes went undone, gutters clogged more easily, refuse gathered longer. Some lanes were emptier, yes, but cleanliness did not follow automatically. The myth of post-plague tidiness fades into the reality of continued smell. Ratcatcher Tom in the alley. Ratcatcher Tom appears at the corner, tapping his stick against a wall. He insists the alley hides hundreds of plague-borne rats, invisible by day, active by night. He points to a pile of straw, mutters that it shifts. You look closely, it does not. Still he bangs his stick, declares the rats cowed. Children watch him, some amused, some wary. Tom's muttering adds sound to the still air, his presence almost comforting. In a town where silence once meant fear, even his odd voice fills a gap. Fortunata and her candles. At the other end of the lane, Fortunata has placed a single candle in her window. She insists it sweetens the street more than herbs. That wax burns steadily carries holiness out. The smell of beeswax is faint, almost lost among smoke and sewage, but she swears it purifies. Neighbors humor her, nodding politely. Some even buy candles, placing them by their own doors. The light flickers against cracked plaster, small yet steady. A mild dilemma. You pause at a crossing. One alley is shorter, leading directly to the square, but it smells of sewage, its gutter clogged. The other is longer, winding, but lined with bakeries, carrying warm bread scent. Do you take the quicker foul path, or the longer fragrant one? Either choice is small, yet it shapes your morning mood.
Smells in layers. The street changes scent as you walk. Barsky, by the tanner's stall. Sharp reek of hide soaked in urine, sour and biting. By the baker's oven, sweet warmth of bread, flour drifting into air. Near the church, incense, smoky and resinous, clinging to robes. At the alley corner, stagnant water, mold rising from moss. Each step brings a new layer, none lasting long, all stitched into the air together. Myth versus reality on 2, fragrant incense everywhere. Paintings sometimes suggest churches filled the whole town with sweet incense. In truth, incense clung only near doorways, fading quickly once you stepped back into streets. Towns were defined by mixtures, not by perfume. Step by step, passing through Market Lane. To reach the square you move through Market Lane. Step 1, sidestep puddles, boots slipping slightly. Step 2, pass carts, their wheels leaving grooves filled with water. Step 3, brush against walls, stone rough beneath your sleeve. Step 4, breathe shallow near fish stalls, salted scales souring the air. Step 5, pause where bread scent drifts strongest, warm and steady. The passage is not pleasant, but it is familiar, part of the rhythm of each day. That are rules of the street. Life after plague shapes new unspoken codes. Sweep stoops at dawn, so filth does not linger too long. Toss refuse into gutters, not the middle of the lane. Candles may be burned in windows, if Fortunata insists. Rats must not be mocked, for Tom claims to keep them in check. Bread scents are shared, even if loaves are not. Chamber pots emptied quietly, without splashing neighbors. Herbs scattered freely, though their strength fades quickly. These rules keep the streets tolerable, if never clean. Cadence Landing 1. By midday, smells mix heavier. Fish spoils faster in sun. Smoke clings lower. Tallow thickens. A breeze carries bread briefly, but it vanishes. Tom mutters in shadow. Fortunata straightens her candle. You walk slower, patience stretched. The air sours, the bells toll faintly, and the streets drift into weary quiet. The stories of streets. Some recall lanes blocked by carts left behind when plague struck, goods untouched for months. Others tell of pigs wandering free, eating refuse. A city account records fines for those who let animals foul the streets. A diary recalls lavender scattered so heavily that alleys turned purple with crushed flowers. Such stories shape the way towns remember their own lanes. A moral puzzle. A neighbor asks you to join them in sprinkling herbs along the gutter, claiming it drives away illness. You could help, spending your own small bundle of sage, or decline, saving it for your home. The choice is gentle, not urgent, but it lingers as you walk away. Myth versus reality on 3. Empty streets. It is tempting to imagine streets deserted, houses shuttered, doors barred. Some were, yes, but many lanes still stirred. Fewer people, slower movement, but still voices, still chores, still dogs barking. Streets were not abandoned. They were muted. Cadence Landing 2. As dusk falls, smells shift again. Smoke grows stronger, bread weaker, sewage sharper in cool air. Dogs bark, footsteps fade. Fortunata's candles glow faintly in windows, wax scent soft among heavier odors. Tom taps his stick once more, muttering about rats. The smoke drifts upward, the cobbles cool, and the town folds slowly into night. Faith, doubt, and rituals. The bells call you again. Their sound drifts across damp air, not hurried, not desperate, but steady. The plague has passed, yet the church still rings often, reminding the town that loss lingers, that faith remains, that ritual continues even when certainty does not. You walk slowly toward the church, cloak brushing against your legs, boots echoing on stone. The morning air smells faintly of wood smoke and of incense, that still clings to the stones from yesterday's prayers. The square around the church is quieter than before the plague. People gather, though fewer now. Some bow their heads quickly, moving in. Others linger, hesitant, whispering to neighbors before crossing the threshold. The church doors creak open, heavy wood against iron hinges, their sound carrying through the space. Inside, the light is dim, candles flickering weakly, shadows stretching long. Step by step, preparing the altar. You pause to watch as the priest and assistants move slowly, their actions deliberate. Step 1. Linen is spread across the altar, its edges smoothed by careful hands. Step 2. Candles are placed, wax scraped from bottoms, so they sit evenly. The smell of beeswax fills the air, sweet and smoky. Step 3. Incense is lit, the smoke curling upward, resinous and sharp. Step 4. Chalice and plate are set out, polished though dulled by years of use. Step 5. The bell is rung once, softly, a signal of readiness. The preparation is calm, precise, each gesture repeated as though repetition itself carries holiness. Myth versus reality on 1. Faith vanished. It is often imagined that after plague, faith collapsed, churches emptied, and people abandoned belief. Yet records from parish rolls and city accounts suggest otherwise. Attendance dipped in places, yes, but processions continued, masses were said, candles burned daily. Some doubted more, others clung more tightly. Faith shifted, but it did not vanish. The myth of empty churches fades into the reality of weary, altered devotion. He insists saints must have sent them, for no ordinary creature could be so powerful. Children giggle, some frightened, some amused. Adults shake their heads but allow him his mutters. Even in his oddity, Tom fills silence, turning fear into peculiar explanation. Fortunata and her candles. Inside, Fortunata arranges her candles along a side table. She speaks loudly, claiming the altar is never bright enough. She insists every soul requires 2 candles, one for light, one for shadow. She scolds anyone who buys only one, muttering that half light tempts the dark. Her shawl smells strongly of beeswax, her hands streaked with wax flakes. The priest sighs softly, but allows her, for candles are always needed, and her devotion is too insistent to silence. A mild dilemma. You stand with 1 coin. It could buy a loaf of bread outside, or a candle inside. Fortunata watches closely, her eyes narrow, certain the coin belongs to wax. Your stomach argues for bread. The choice is small, quiet, but it lingers as you step forward. The sound of ritual. The mass begins. Voices murmur responses, uneven but steady. Candles crackle faintly, their wicks struggling in drafts. The bell rings again, sharp and high, echoing across stone. Incense thickens, its smoke drifting, catching in your throat. A cough sounds, quickly hushed. Shoes scrape against stone as people kneel. The sounds overlap, layering into rhythm. Bell, murmur, cough, scrape, flame. The ritual is not grand, not perfect but steady. Myth versus reality on 2. Processions ended. It is said that after plague, processions ceased, fear keeping people indoors. Yet many towns marched still, priests leading, townsfolk following, banners lifted, candles carried. Some processions begged for mercy, others gave thanks for survival. Doubt mingled with devotion, but ritual endured, step by step joining a procession. Later the town gathers outside, the procession begins slowly. Step 1, banners are lifted, cloth heavy, snapping faintly in wind. Step 2, candles are lit, flames trembling in the breeze, wax dripping onto hands. Step 3, voices begin to chant, uneven at first, then steadier. Step 4, the line moves forward, boots scraping, cloaks brushing stone. Step 5, the bell rings again, its sound following as the procession turns through streets. The ritual binds silence into rhythm, filling streets with presence. Rules of post-plague worship. In these days townsfolk adopt quiet codes for devotion. Bells are always listened to, even when they toll often. Candles must be burned steadily, never wasted. Incense may sting eyes, but one does not complain. Rat-catcher Tom's mutters are ignored, though never mocked. Fortunata must be allowed her extra wax. Processions are joined slowly, no rushing. Doubt may be whispered, but never shouted. These rules are not written, yet they guide the rhythm of faith. Cadence landing 1. By midday the incense fades, though its smoke clings faintly to cloaks. Candles burn lower, dripping wax onto stone. Voices scatter, footsteps fade from the square. Tom mutters of holy rats. Fortunata gathers her wax. The church grows quiet again. The bell sighs,
The smoke lingers, and the town drifts back into silence. Stories of belief and doubt. A diary recalls a man who lit a candle each night for 40 days, claiming it kept fever from his home. Another tells of a woman who stopped attending church, saying the bells only reminded her of loss. Some prayed more, some prayed less, yet all shaped life around ritual. A moral puzzle. At evening, neighbors invite you to join prayers for the day. You feel weary, your stomach empty, your bed waiting. You could stay, murmur the responses, or walk home leaving others to pray without you. Neither choice is harsh, yet both shape your night. Myth vs. reality. On 3. Certainty restored. It might be imagined that rituals restored perfect confidence, yet accounts remind that doubts grew too. Some asked why prayers failed, why candles did not halt plague. Ritual remained, but certainty wavered. Faith became both devotion and question. Cadence Landing 2. As dusk falls, candles glow in windows, smoke drifts from chimneys, incense long gone. Fortunata counts her coins, Tom taps his stick along stones. The bell tolls one final time, its sound low lingering into night. The wax glows, the shadows stretch, and the town folds slowly into rest. Food, drink and daily meals. The rhythm of town life is measured not only by bells and wages, but also by meal. To eat after the plague is not to feast lavishly, but to continue quietly, to chew bread, to sip ale, to stir pottage that simmers long into the afternoon. Food does not erase memory, but it steadies hands, warms bellies and keeps days turning. You wake to the faint smell of bread drifting down the lane. The bakery door is open, smoke rising from its chimney, flour dusting the cobblestones near its threshold. The air is damp and cool, yet the bread smell is warm and heavy, wrapping itself around you as you. The streets may be muted, but bread insists that life remains. Step by step, baking bread. The baker's morning begins before the sun. You pause to watch through the open doorway, where the heat is already. Step 1. Flour is sifted, fine dust rising into air, settling on hair, on clothes, on every surface. Step 2. Water is poured, bucket clattering against stone as it tips. The smell of yeast is faint but sharp. Step 3. Dough is kneaded, hands pressing heavy, folding, pressing again. The sound is low, steady, like muffled footsteps. Step 4. Loaves are shaped, round and heavy, left to rest beneath cloth. Step 5. Oven doors creak open, heat rushing out, air thick and smoky. Loaves slide in, wood crackles, flames snap. The work is laborious, the result plain, but each loaf is both sustenance and reassurance. Myth versus reality. On 1. Starving towns. It is sometimes imagined that all towns after plague starved, fields empty, stores gone. Records suggest otherwise. Hunger existed, yes, but so did trade, so did gardens, so did markets. Many ate less, some ate poorly, but most continued. Bread still baked, ale still brewed, cheese still salted. The myth of universal famine fades into the reality of steady if modest meal. Rat-catcher Tom's complaints. By the bakery, rat-catcher Tom mutters that rats steal more cheese than grain. He taps his stick against the wall, claims he hears them nibbling at wheels of curd. He insists they now grow fat on dairy, leaving grain for. The baker sighs, mutters that Tom hears what he wishes. Still Tom's stick echoes, filling the lane with rhythm. Fortunata and candlelit meals. Fortunata sets her small table nearby, candles lined even in daylight. She insists no meal is proper without flame. Darkness eats faster than hunger, she mutters, striking flint to wick. The candle light glows against loaves and bowls. She claims it sweetens broth, blesses bread and keeps ale from souring. Few believe her, yet some buy candles to humor her, lighting them as they chew. A mild dilemma. You hold a coin, with it you could buy cheese, sharp and filling, or ale, warm and soothing. The coin will not buy both. Cheese steadies the body, ale steadies the spirit. Which do you choose? The decision is soft, yet lingers as you step by step brewing ale. Later you walk past a brewer's yard. The air is thick with malt, sweet and damp. Step 1. Barley is soaked, laid out, sprouting faintly. The smell is earthy. Step 2. Grains are dried, turned with wooden paddles. The air warms. Step 3. Malt is crushed, ground into coarse powder. Step 4. Water is boiled, steam rising, air heavy with sweetness. Step 5. Wort is cooled, yeast added. Fermentation begins. Bubbles rise, faint hissing. The result is not strong, not refined, but it fills mugs, softens evenings, and steadies townsfolk. Myth versus reality. On 2. Ale houses overflowed. Stories suggest ale houses brimmed with joy, always loud, always full, In truth, many were quiet, mugs were smaller, ale often thin, voices low. Joy existed, yes, but mixed with weariness. The myth of constant merriment softens into reality of quiet relief. Step by step, cooking pottage. At home, meals are simpler. Pottage simmers, slow and steady. Step 1, barley or oats are poured into pot, grains dull and heavy. Step 2, water added, stirred with wooden spoon, bubbling faintly. Step 3, scraps of vegetables, onion, leek, cabbage tossed in. Their smell sharpens the air. Step 4, salt, if any, sprinkled sparingly. Step 5, the pot is left to simmer for hours, thickening, softening, blending. Each bowl is similar, day after day, yet each comforts as much as it feeds. Rules of eating after the plague. Townsfolk keep quiet habits when it comes to meals. Bread divided carefully, never wasted. Ale poured slowly, froth left to settle. Cheese cut thin, stretched across more mouth. Pottage stirred clockwise, lest it sour. Candles may be lit if Fortunata insists. Rats must not be spoken of during supper. Leftovers given to dogs, never thrown. These rules give structure, turning hunger into routine. Cadence landing 1. By midday, the air smells of bread crusts, ale froth, and simmering cabbage. Tom mutters of rats. Fortunata adjusts her candles. Neighbors chew slowly, spoons scraping bowls. The fire sighs, the bread cools, and the town drifts into steady silence. Stories of meals. A diary recalls meat left hanging in empty houses, neighbors dividing it carefully. Another tells of a widow who stretched cabbage broth for 10 days, claiming it grew richer each night. A letter describes a feast when trade reopened, barrels of salted herring shared until all felt sick. Such stories remind that meals were never only hunger, they were memory, ritual, endurance. A moral puzzle. At evening, a neighbor asks to borrow bread. You have little left. You could share, leaving yourself hungry, or refuse, protecting your household. The question is not urgent, but it lingers into night, shaping how you greet them tomorrow. Myth vs. reality on 3. Banquets for all. It is tempting to imagine that fewer mouths meant more feasting, endless meat and wine. Yet accounts remind that supplies were disrupted, trade uneven. Some ate better, yes, but most continued with bread, ale, pottage, and modest Cadence landing 2. As dusk falls, smells shift, bread grows stale, ale flattens, pottage thickens in pot. Fortunata's candles glow faintly. Tom taps his stick, muttering of rats. Neighbors close shutters, fires burn low. The bowls rest, the wax glows, and the town folds slowly into sleep. Clothing and appearance. Clothing is more than fabric. It shapes how you are seen in the town, how you feel against the chill air, how you endure the dampness of stone streets. After the plague, garments carry not only warmth and modesty, but also quiet memory. Cloaks once worn by fathers are pulled across sons' shoulders. Dresses once belonging to mothers are patched and reshaped for daughters. Clothes are stitched with lineage, loss, and endurance. When you step outside in the morning, you feel your cloak heavy against your shoulder. The wool smells faintly of smoke from last night's fire, faintly of mildew from damp air. The edges are frayed, the seams patched with uneven stitches, but the cloth still holds warmth. The cobblestones are slick beneath your boots, and your breath drifts pale in the cool air. Around you, neighbors appear in their own layers, each garment telling its own story of survival. Step by step washing garments. Clothes gather dust, sweat and smoke, and though washing is not frequent, it follows a slow rhythm. Step 1. Garments are carried to the river or communal trough, cloth heavy with dirt. Step 2. Wool is beaten against stones, the sound dull, water splashing high. Step 3. Lye soap is rubbed, sharp and stinging against hand. Step 4. Cloth is rinsed, cold water biting against fingers, fabric growing heavier. Step 5. Garments are spread across bushes, wagon beams, or ropes, drying stiff in the air. The result is not softness, but a different kind of weight, cleaner, harsher, scratchy. Still, the work is done, and clothes are ready to wear again. Myth versus reality on 1. Everyone in rags. It is easy to imagine that after plague, townsfolk wore only tatters, nothing left but rags. Records suggest otherwise. Some wore patched clothing, yes, but others, especially craftsmen and merchants, afforded fine cloth. Wealth shifted, clothing showed it. Not all were ragged, not all were rich. Most wore what endured, whether patched or dyed anew. The myth of universal rags fades into the reality of mixed wardrobes. Rat-catcher Tom's opinion. Rat-catcher Tom taps his stick against a wall and mutters that rats ignore wool, but gnaw fine silks first. He insists noble garments draw vermin faster than bread. He claims to have seen rats weaving silk with their teeth, stitching shadows into cloaks. Neighbors shake their heads, but some laugh quietly. Tom's mutters become part of the town's chatter, his strange logic stitched into the fabric of the day. Fortunata and candlelight colors. Fortunata, arranging candles on her table, insists that garments only shine properly by wax. She lights a candle, holds it near dyed cloth, and declares the hue truer, the saints more pleased. A cloak without candlelight, she says, is a shadow pretending to be silk. Her wax-streaked hands smooth the cloth, as though she owns it. Some roll their eyes, others buy candles just to see their sleeves glow in flickering light. A mild dilemma. Your cloak is patched 3 times, its hem worn thin. At market, a wool merchant offers new cloth, costly but sturdy. Do you buy, spending coins saved for food, or patch again, letting seams grow more uneven? The choice is small, but it lingers in thought as your fingers trace the fabric, step by step dyeing with plants. When garments fade, color is renewed with slow labor. Step 1. Cloth is boiled in large pots, steam rising, air heavy with wet wool. Step 2. Plants are added, word for blue, madder root for red, weld for yellow. The smell is earthy, bitter, sharp. Step 3. The cloth is stirred with long sticks, color seeping slowly. Step 4. Garments are lifted out, dripping, their hues uneven but bright. Step 5. They are dried in air, colors deepening as water evaporates. The process is imperfect, but it turns pale cloth into brighter tones, carrying dignity into daily wear. Myth vs. reality unto. Sudden fashion freedom. Some imagine that after plague, laws vanished, and everyone wore whatever they pleased. Yet records of sumptuary laws show towns still regulated. Who might wear silk, who might wear fur, who might wear gold. People tested limits, yes, but order remained. Fashion was freer, but not unbounded. The feel of fabrics. You brush your hand across your sleeve. The wool is coarse, scratching skin. Linen beneath is softer, cool against your arm. A neighbor passes in dyed blue, cloth rough but brighter than your. Another wears patched hose, seams thick where thread has been pulled tight. The touch of cloth defines each day, itching, scratching, warming, protecting. Rules of town dress. Townsfolk adopt their own quiet codes of appearance. Cloaks patched may be worn proudly, dirt may not. Shoes must be mended before soles vanish. Linen beneath, wool above, always. Bright dyes are admired, even if uneven. Fortunata's candles may flatter cloth, but cannot excuse holes. Rats must not be blamed for every tear, despite Tom's claim. Hats are tipped politely even if frayed. These rules guide clothing as much as coin or cloth. Cadence landing 1. By midday cloaks grow heavy with smoke, hose itch against skin, and patched seams stretch thin. Tom mutters of rats chewing silks. Fortunata lights another candle. Neighbors walk slowly through the square. The wool scratches, the wax glows, and the town drifts into weary patience. Stories of clothing. A letter recalls silk gowns sold cheaply when noble houses empty. A diary notes widows wearing men's cloaks, cut down to fit. City accounts record fines for apprentices dressing above their station, their sleeves too wide, their colors too rich. Stories remind that clothing after plague was both necessity and statement, both patch and pride. A moral puzzle. A friend admires your dyed sleeve, asks to borrow your cloak for a procession. You hesitate. Sharing honors them but risks damage. Keeping it protects your garment, but may offend. The question rests lightly, shaping friendship with small stitches. Myth vs. reality. And 3. Everyone suddenly stylish. It might be imagined that fewer people meant more luxury for all. Silks flowing freely, fur on every shoulder, yet evidence shows unevenness. Some flaunted wealth, others patched endlessly. The town was a patchwork, not a parade. Cadence landing 2. As dusk comes, garments smell heavier of smoke, cloaks damp from evening air. Candles glow in windows, Fortunata nodding proudly at colors flickering in flame. Tom taps his stick, muttering that rats march in silk. Neighbors close shutters, clothes hung by fire. The wool warms, the wax glows, and the town folds slowly into night.
Neighbors and gossip. The town is not built only of stone and timber. It is built of neighbors, of voices heard through shutters, of footsteps familiar on cobblestones, of whispers that drift across alleys. After the plague, neighbors become more visible, more noticeable. With fewer people, each voice carries further, each face is remembered more clearly. Gossip is not only entertainment, it is a thread that stitches the street together, turning silence into murmur, turning loss into story. You open your door in the morning, the street smells faintly of damp wool and wood smoke. Across the way, a neighbor sweeps her stoop, broom scratching against stone. She nods without words. Another leans from a window, cloak pulled close, eyes scanning the lane. A dog barks, chasing pigeons. And soon someone mutters that the baker's boy left crumbs on the cobbles again. The day begins not only with chores but with the soft start of gossip. Step by step, how gossip spreads. Gossip moves slowly, step by step, like water through a channel. Step 1, a remark is made at a doorway, quiet, casual, almost unnoticed. Step 2, the listener carries it to the well, repeats it while waiting for a bucket to rise. Step 3, someone overhears, carries it farther, reshaping it slightly. Step 4, by afternoon it reaches the marketplace, told at least 4 different ways. Step 5, by evening, the story has circled back, altered enough that even the speaker hardly recognizes it. The rhythm is calm, inevitable. Gossip is not rushed, it walks as the town walks. Myth vs. realitism 1. Hostile neighbors. It is easy to imagine neighbors, after the plague, turning bitter, suspicious, silent. And yes, some did grow cautious. Some doors closed more tightly. Yet records suggest that gossip and cooperation often grew stronger. For survival demanded shared eyes and ears. Towns were not only places of hostility, they were also places of small bonds, built word by word. The myth of cold isolation fades into the reality of cautious companionship. Ratcatcher Tom's rat tales. Ratcatcher Tom is never far when gossip begins. He taps his stick against walls, leans into conversations, and declares that the plague rats wore golden crowns. He claims he saw one, gleaming in moonlight, seated like a king. Children widen their eyes. Adults sigh, but the story repeats, softening as it travels, until soon half the town wonders if perhaps a rat king does exist. Tom's tales are odd, yet they entertain, weaving laughter into murmur. His words move like his stick, tapping from one stone to another, never still. Fortunata and candlelit whispers. Fortunata insists gossip burns brighter when told by candlelight. She sets her candles in the square, claiming each flame listens carefully, carrying whispers upward to saint. A rumor in shadow dies, she mutters, but a rumor in light glows. She scolds those who whisper without candles, calls it wasteful talk. Neighbors humor her, buying stubs to place on tables, telling stories as wax drips slow. A mild dilemma. At midday you hear a rumor at the well that a merchant hoards flour in his cellar. You could repeat it to your neighbor, spreading suspicion, or you could remain silent, keeping peace. Sharing may warn others, but silence may preserve calm. The choice weighs lightly, yet it stays in your mind as you walk away. The sound of neighbors. The street fills with neighborly sound. Laughter breaks briefly, then fades. A broom scratches against cobblestones. Buckets clank at the well. Chains rattle. Voices murmur, half heard, words drifting like smoke. Tom's stick taps rhythmically. Fortunata mutters over her candles, her words mixing with wax crackle. The town is not loud, but it is never silent. The sounds blend into a steady low hum of shared life. Rules of neighborly life. Neighbors adopt quiet, unspoken codes. Greetings are short, nods more common than words. Gossip must be softened before repeated. Rumors may involve rats, but only Tom is allowed to embellish. Fortunata's candlelit whispers must not be mocked aloud. Borrowed tools returned within a day, even if duller. Bread crusts may be shared, but cheese must be earned. Disputes end before bells toll, for night prefers silence. These rules keep peace, as surely as walls keep out wind. Cadence landing 1. By afternoon the lane warms with footsteps, whispers drifting further. Dogs bark, children laugh, Tom mutters. Fortunata scolds. The town hums not with shouts but with steady low conversation. The brooms pause, the bells toll faintly, and the street folds itself into weary calm. Stories of gossip. A diary tells of a widow rumored to marry again, though she never did. Another recalls a merchant accused of hoarding ale, though his cellar proved empty. A letter notes that gossip often carried more comfort than harm, for stories filled emptiness better than silence. Such tales remind that gossip is less about truth than about presence. A moral puzzle. At evening a neighbor asks you what you heard at the well. You could admit the rumor, passing it on, or you could shrug, saying nothing. One path binds you into the chain, the other sets you slightly apart. Neither choice is urgent, yet each leaves a trace. Myth vs. reality. 2. Gossip as malice. It may be tempting to believe gossip was always cruel, yet evidence suggests it often carried care warnings about illness, advice about trade, news of marriages. Malice existed, yes, but so did comfort. The myth of gossip as poison fades into reality of gossip as balm. Cadence Landing 2. As dusk falls, whispers soften, doors close, candles glow faintly. Fortunata smiles at her flames. Tom taps his stick one final time. The street grows quiet, voices fading into the hum of night. The wax glows, the rats hide, and the town drifts slowly into rest. Illness and memory. Illness lingers even after the plague has passed. Not always in bodies, but in minds, in habits, in the way townsfolk glance quickly at every cough. The air of the town carries not only smoke and dampness, but also memory. Memory makes throats tighten, makes neighbors pause before greeting one another, makes candles burn longer than they once did. To live after plague is to live with echoes of it, even when true sickness is gone. You awaken in the morning, hearing a cough echo faintly down the lane. It is not harsh, not urgent, but it is enough to still the air for a moment. A door closes quietly, footsteps retreat, silence grows heavier though nothing more follows. The sound alone is enough to bring the past close again. Step by step brewing herbal remedies. When a cough or fever appears, remedies are prepared, even if illness is mild. Step 1. Gather herbs, sage, rosemary, thyme, tied in bundles, their smell sharp and green. Step 2. Place them in boiling water, steam rising, air filling with resinous scent. Step 3. Pour into cups, liquid hot, bitter to the tongue. Step 4. Cover the pot again, let more herbs steep, their strength believed to grow. Step 5. Sip slowly, warmth spreading through the chest, even if cure is uncertain. The act is as much comfort as it is remedy. Myth versus reality. 1. Plague constant. It is tempting to imagine that plague returned every year, every season, constant in presence. Yet records suggest waves came, then passed, leaving long stretches of quieter years. Illnesses still appeared, colds, fevers, coughs, but the Black Death itself was not constant. Memory was steadier than reality. The myth of endless plague fades into the reality of intermittent return. Ratcatcher Tom's shadow rats. Ratcatcher Tom insists the sickness never left. He mutters that shadow rats carry it now, slipping along walls at night, unseen in daylight. He taps his stick against cobbles, declares he hears them breathe. Neighbors sigh, yet listen, for his muttering gives form to formless fear. A cough explained by shadow rats feels easier than a cough unexplained. Fortunata and candle cures. Fortunata lights her candles whenever she hears cough. She claims flame drives fever away, that smoke from wax purifies the air. Shadows cannot nest where light lives, she declares, adding extra wicks to her stall. Her shawl smells strongly of beeswax, her fingers flecked with dried wax flake. Some buy, some roll their eyes, but all tolerate her, for candles harm nothing, and soothe some. A mild dilemma. Your household holds a small jar of honey, believed to soften throats. A neighbor's child coughs. Face. You could share, leaving less for your own, or you could keep it, promising yourself your family may need it soon. The jar is small, the choice is larger than it appears. Step by step fumigating a room. When fear rises, rooms are fumigate. Step 1. Herbs are burned on a small plate, smoke curling thick. Step 2. Windows are closed, shutters barred, air filling with acrid scent. Step 3. Clothes and bedding are beaten, smoke clinging to fabric. Step 4. Incense is added, resin crackling, fragrance stronger, masking bitterness. Step 5. Doors are opened, air let out, neighbors wrinkling noses at the scent. The smoke lingers on skin and cloth, leaving its mark long after. Realities unto, no remedies at all. It is sometimes said that people had no treatments, only despair. Yet records from physicians' notes and household lists show remedies were common. Herbs, vinegar, smoke, prayer. They may not have cured plague, but they soothed other illnesses, and gave people something to do. Rules of health and caution. In the aftermath, townsfolk keep their own quiet codes. Cough into cloth, never into open air. Keep herbs hung in doorways, even when wilted. Candles must be burned longer when sickness is near. Ratcatcher Tom must not be ignored if he warns of scratching sounds. Honey is shared sparingly, never wasted. Rooms fumigated before winter, even if no illness is seen. Bells are rung softly for the sick, never harshly. These rules turn fear into ritual, shaping health into habit. Cadence Landing 1. By midday, herbs simmer, smoke drifts, candles burn,
Tom mutters of shadows. Fortunata arranges flames. Neighbors walk slower, watching each the smoke curls, the bells toll softly, and the town drifts into cautious silence. Stories of illness remembered. A diary recalls a man who wore garlic at his belt daily, long after plague passed. Another notes a woman who never opened her shutters again, fearing air itself. City records list payments to bell ringers, their tolls more frequent than weddings. Memory weighs heavier than reality, yet both live together. A moral puzzle. At evening you are asked to sit with the sick. The room is small, the coughs steady, the air heavy with smoke. You could remain, offering presents, or step away, protecting yourself. The choice is quiet, but it settles in your chest long after. Myth versus realities. And 3. Bells always tolling. It is imagined that bells rang constantly, town forever in mourning, yet many days passed without toll. Bells rang often enough to be remembered, not enough to be endless. Memory stitches tolls together, making them seem continuous, step by step, tending a fever. When fever strikes, care follows its own rhythm. Step 1. Soak a cloth in cool water, wring it until droplets fall. Step 2. Press to forehead, warmth seeping into fabric. Step 3. Change often, water fetched again and again. Step 4. Murmur softly, words soothing though powerless. Step 5. Feed small sips of broth or ale, hand steady even when the ill turn away. The fever may not break quickly, but the care steadies hearts. Cadence landing 2. By dusk, candles glow low, rooms smell of herbs and smoke. Tom taps his stick outside, muttering that rats retreat. Fortunata scolds anyone who lets flame gutter. The coughs soften, though they do not vanish. The wax drips, the fire sighs, and the town folds itself into uneasy rest. Law and order. Authority in the town does not vanish after the plague. It bends, shifts, grows quieter in some ways, louder in others. Fewer people mean fewer disputes, yet the disputes that remain feel sharp. Law and order hold the town together, not always evenly, but steadily enough that neighbors know where boundaries lie. To live after plague is to hear bells, yes, but also to hear the town crier's voice echoing through streets. You step outside one morning to the sound of his bell. A single sharp clang echoes down cobblestones. His voice follows, deep but weary, announcing curfew hours, reminding fines for waste in the gutters, repeating the old rules with new weight. Doors open briefly, heads nod, then close again. The rules are not new, yet they sound different in streets where silence still lingers. Step by step, a town crier's duty. The crier follows a rhythm each morning. Step 1. Lift the handbell, swing it once, sharp note ringing. Step 2. Shout the ordinance, slow and clear, words bouncing off stone. Step 3. Pause, listen for murmurs, nod at those who emerge. Step 4. Repeat again, further down the lane, the voice steadier than the words. Step 5. Note who listens, who turns away, who mutters too loud. The ritual is less about words than presence. The sound carries authority, even when rules remain unchanged. Myth versus realities. And 1. Chaos reigned. It is tempting to imagine that towns after the plague collapsed into chaos. Law forgotten, watchmen absent. Yet town records show fines still collected, ordinances still issued, guards still posted at gates. Law bent under loss but did not shatter. The myth of lawless streets fades into the reality of uneven but persistent order. Ratcatcher Tom's fines. Ratcatcher Tom insists rats should be fined for theft. He taps his stick against barrels, muttering that each stolen crumb deserves a penny. He claims to keep a ledger of whiskers, each rat recorded as debtor to the town. Children laugh, some adults shake heads, but a few humor him, dropping coins into his hand as rat fines. Tom pockets them with solemn nod, declaring justice served. Fortunata's candle laws. Fortunata argues daily that candles must be protected by order. She insists wax is sacred, flame holy, and that any theft of candles should be punished more harshly than theft of bread. Bread fills the stomach for a day, she mutters, but a candle lights the soul for a night. She waves her hands over her stall, daring anyone to touch without coin. The bailiff ignores her, yet she continues, her voice blending into the town's rhythm. A mild dilemma. At midday, a watchman stops you. He claims your cloak brush swept too much straw into the gutter. He threatens a fine, small but irksome. You could pay quietly, or argue, risking his patience. Neither choice is heavy, but both shape how you are remembered on his list. Step by step collecting a fine. When fines are gathered, the act is steady. Step 1. The bailiff writes the name. ink scratching on parchment. Step 2. The offender nods, sometimes mutters, rarely refuses. Step 3. The coin is weighed, tested against stone, its ring sharp. Step 4. The bailiff pockets it into a pouch, leather creaking faintly. Step 5. The rule is read again, so none forget. The process is dull, deliberate, more ritual than punishment. Myth versus realities. And 2. Harsh justice. Everywhere. It is often imagined that punishments grew brutal, that towns punished every fault with gallows. Records suggest otherwise. Fines were more common than executions, warnings more common than whips. Justice was uneven, yes, but not always cruel. Rules of town justice. Townsfolk keep quiet codes about law, learned as much by habit as by decree. Curfew bells mean home, not tavern. Waste not in the gutter where neighbors walk. Ratcatcher Tom's ledgers are not official, yet must be humored. Fortunata's candles may not be touched, even in jest. Watchmen may be avoided, but never mocked. Disputes should fade before dusk, for night prefers silence. These rules keep order steady, smoothing edges of harsher ordinances. Cadence landing 1. By afternoon the crier's voice fades, the watchmen lean against posts, coins clink in pouch. Tom mutters of rat debts, Fortunata polishes her wax. The street hums with quiet acceptance, the bell sighs, the rules linger, and the town drifts into measured calm. Stories of law remembered. A diary recalls a man fined for throwing bones into the square. Another speaks of a curfew broken, the offender made to sweep streets for a week. A city record notes widows freed from tax, only for others to complain of unfairness. Justice was not equal, but it was steady enough to keep walls upright. A moral puzzle. At evening a neighbor knocks. They ask if you will join them in protesting a new fee for water. You could go standing quietly in the square, or you could remain inside, avoiding notice. Both choices are light, yet both ripple softly into tomorrow. Myth versus realities. And 3. No laws enforced. It is easy to believe ordinances were ignored, watchmen idle, yet fines collected, curfews observed, records written, confirm otherwise. The town did not collapse into lawlessness. It adjusted, cautiously, unevenly, but law remained. Step by step, a watchman's patrol. When night falls, the watchmen walk. Step 1. Lanterns are lit, flames glowing faint against damp walls. Step 2. Boots scrape stone, their rhythm steady, heavy. Step 3. Doors are tested, latches checked with quiet knocks. Step 4. Curfew violators are noted, names muttered into record. Step 5. At dawn reports are given, the night folded into parchment. The patrol is repetitive, yet its monotony reassures. Cadence landing 2. As dusk settles, watchmen pace, Tom taps his stick, Fortunata lights her last candle. Rules are spoken less now, but their weight remains. Streets grow quieter, shutters close, the lanterns glow, the coins rest, and the town folds itself into ordered night.